Hi Barrington teachers, I'm Paul Solars, the author of Learn Like a Pirate. I understand you guys are reading my book, so thank you so much for doing that. I wanted to reach out and just give you a couple-minute introduction to the book and tell you a little bit about it. It is kind of my story of how I've created a student-led classroom in my 5th grade classroom, how I've empowered my students to take on a lot of the leadership roles that normally a teacher might do in the classroom. And so I want to tell you a little bit about how the book's organized. First, I did it with an acronym for PIRATE based on Dave Burgess's Teach Like a Pirate. Mine stand for different words though. The P in PIRATE stands for peer collaboration. And I start with that because I really believe strongly that the way you can empower students to be leaders in your classroom really begins with a collaborative community where each person in the class respects each other and learns to get along with each other. So that chapter happens to be one of the longest chapters in the book, and it really shows how I try to create a collaborative community in my classroom. What kinds of activities I do, trying to get off the stage a little bit and let the kids do more project-based learning, more active learning like simulations and debates and preparing for fairs and doing other projects. And all that is in the collaboration chapter. And that's when kids are going to be most likely to take on certain leadership roles, like doing an all call in the classroom. We use the signal, give me five, give me five. And, kids aren't going to be doing that if the teacher's on the stage. So they do that when the kids are kind of spread out in the classroom, and that's been very powerful in our classroom is the gimme five signal. So you'll read about that in the book, and you'll understand more about that as you go. Other chapters include the I is for the improvement focused learning chapter. In my classroom, I don't give grades for individual assignments. That doesn't mean you have to do it that way. I still have to give a report card, so I still make sure to give feedback on every assignment that the kids have. My feedback just has a tendency to be, here's what I liked and here's what you need to improve or revise in this assignment. And then I found that if you take away the idea of grades like numbers or letters, 90% or a B- or whatever, if you take away that, what happens is the kids start taking more risks and they start thinking more collaboratively, in that I don't have to just get done with my assignment and do my best on my assignment. I can help others, and we can all do well together. And I still find that my kids are still trying very hard and doing really well in class, but now they're taking a moment to pause and help the people around them instead of being so focused in on what their responsibilities are. They now help others to build other kids' responsibilities up as well. And that leads us into the responsibility chapter. There's so many tasks that a teacher has to do in a given day in their classroom. If you can learn to let go a tiny bit and let the kids take on a lot of those tasks, it's so surprising how it becomes this community or this family or this business almost, like where everybody just gets everything done. If they see things that need to get done, they just do it. In our classroom, I have some jobs in the class where I actually assign it out. But it's never that child's responsibility solely. If a child's not there, or if a child forgets to do their job, we all take on that responsibility for them, and we let them know sometimes that we did it, but in general it just gets done. Nobody feels like they're going to be in trouble if they forget, but yet at the same time they do build the responsibility in for getting tasks done in the classroom. But the key there is collaborative responsibilities. We all share the responsibility for making sure everything gets done, whether it's an assigned job or it's not. Certain things come up throughout our day that I could never have anticipated, and so I don't assign those jobs, obviously, because I didn't know they'd be coming up, and yet those things get done throughout our day. Things like picking up the laptop cart, that one actually is an assigned job, but other things throughout the day, getting us to the next subject on time. It's maybe time to go to gym or recess or something. They'll do a gimme five. They'll say it's time to clean up and get us to the next period on time. Whereas I don't have to pay attention to the clock anymore, and that's very helpful because we're all going to do that together. The next chapter is active learning, so I really go into detail about how I do simulations and fairs and project-based learning, how I integrate technology effectively in my classroom so that it's not just for technology's sake, but yet it does provide students with a bit of a more exciting atmosphere and something that they're going to be motivated to work with. But I'll show authentic experiences that I do in my classroom using technology and not using technology as well. The next chapter is 21st century skills, which, that the phrase gets a bad rap, but here's how I feel about 21st century skills. Although these things like problem solving and critical thinking and creativity and collaboration, all those things have obviously been around forever, but in my opinion, they were never the focus, the main goal of school. And in my classroom, those 21st century skills come before the content. Even though content is what drives my instruction and content objectives are what I have to accomplish in my class, I always try to associate some 21st century skill, and I have a list of 34 of them that I focus in on. I always try to make sure that a lesson is going to focus in on at least one or two 21st century skills as a primary driver for the lesson. So if I can teach my kids, how to get better at something like metacognition or taking risks or handling setbacks effectively, I'm gonna throw that into the lesson, and I'm gonna tell them this is the kind of feedback I'm going to be giving you during this lesson, is all really going to be focused on how you're doing the 21st century skills, rather than focus most of my feedback on the content. Because I can teach content, I can guide my kids to learn content, but they need to practice doing those 21st century skills in order to get good at them. And then those skills those are the things that really transfer to the next stage in their life, whether it be another class setting or into the real world once they get out of school. These are the skills that they can actually transfer. The content can always be something that they could learn in the future or get better at or research on their own. So I'm going to give them a background of it so that they know what it is, but I don't need them to become content experts in my 5th grade classroom. I understand middle school teachers are going to have content as their main driving force, but I still think 21st century skills can be delivered through the content lessons that you have set up. So I hope that you'll take a look at that lesson and see how you can make that work in your classroom. And then the last chapter is the E for empowerment. And this is really, I just kind of identify, I think there's about 13 areas that I identified where I allow my kids to feel empowered to make decisions freely so that they don't have to worry about asking permission from the teacher or, they can make decisions and they can make mistakes, and the only consequence is going to be feedback. And, once in a while I'll just say that wasn't the greatest thing, but, I'm so glad you took a risk. In the future, I'd rather you do it this way or whatever. And most kids, they can really handle that and grow from that. So that's the book in a nutshell. There are going to be parts in the book that really might work for you in your situation. There are going to be parts that maybe don't fit for your situation. I hope that you'll be able to take the parts that work or take the parts that you're curious about and try them out in your classroom. I have teachers from kindergarten through college doing different aspects of Learn Like a Pirate in their classroom, and I hope that you'll give a lot of those things a try in your classroom as well. If you can connect with me on Twitter, I'm at Paul Solars on Twitter, and then if you have any questions, by all means talk to me, and I'd be happy to answer those questions. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoy the book.